Hi, I'm Steve Loughran from Hortonworks, and this video is entitled Help, My Hadoop Doesn't Work, or more formally, Reporting Bugs in Apache Hadoop. I want to start quickly with some terminology. A JIRA is a term we often use, and we're referring to a specific issue, either a bug or a feature request, in the Apache JIRA issue tracking application. We'll often refer to it by a name and a number, and that lets us know which project it is and which number is going on. So we'll be seeing them a lot, maybe not today's talk. Issues actually get filed are often come in two main categories: feature requests and bugs. A feature request is a proposed new feature where something big is going to be added into Hadoop, or maybe something small. But it's not quite a wish list. Anyone that files a feature request is actually saying, I'm planning to help build this, let's collaborate and do it. And it's how the open source development of Hadoop actually takes place. So there's no point actually filing a wish list of things you'd like to see in the future unless you're actually going to help build them. Far more common than feature requests are actually bugs. Reports where Hadoop doesn't work as planned due to a fault in the code itself and is not working as planned in a well-configured cluster, in a well-configured network. Generally, when Hadoop doesn't work on a system of yours, when your Hadoop cluster is not behaving as planned, it's not actually a bug in the code. It's often something to do with the configuration of the infrastructure itself, the machines, the operating system, the network, very much the network. Or it's just you're trying to do something with Hadoop that isn't quite right. You've misunderstood something, you're trying to do something that Hadoop doesn't actually let you do, and then you're surprised when it doesn't behave as planned. But it's not necessarily a bug. So before panicking, saying Hadoop's broken, start from the beginning. Start assuming that maybe it's a bug in your code. Have a look what's going on. Have a look in any of the logs generated by the servers, not necessarily the local machine, but the remote machine where your code was actually running. Try and make sense of any stack traces in them. When Hadoop isn't working right, it will generate stack traces, Java stack traces, and they contain a lot of information, sometimes too much information, but you can start to see what they mean with experience. Every exception begins with a message. Look at it, try and understand it, tap into search engines. Some of them have URLs, which we've written especially to help with diagnostics. Follow the links. Don't panic, follow the links. If it's a commercial big data stack, such as Hortonworks HTTP, come through us, come through the vendor to get your support. And there's a number of critical reasons for that. The stacks come with tools to help manage them, to help diagnose the problems. There are forums dedicated to dealing with issues in that entire stack, not just Hadoop, but the entire stack installation. And also, we have support services. One of the things customers get from us is the ability to ask for support from our support people, who can then escalate problems all the way up to us engineers, at which point we will start thinking, this is a bug in Hadoop maybe, or this isn't, but we can fix things. And the Apache software team, from the Apache software hat on, we're only set up to deal with problems in the Apache code. We can't deal with bugs filed against different vendors' own rebuilds, rewrites of bits of Hadoop, because they're other people's code. We don't know what changes they've made. So commercial Hadoop big data stacks, go to the vendor first. If you're using the Apache Hadoop distributions coming from Apache, start on the user mailing list. Get on that user mailing list and ask help from your peers. Filing JIRA issues related to problems where you can't get Hadoop to work, but it's not a bug in the code, they're just going to be closed. All you're going to do is spend time hoping you'll get help, and then a day or so later, you will just find out that it's been closed invalid. So try and come up with a solution before anything else. If you do think you've got a bug, or if you're trying to find out why something's not working, there's a lot of tools to help you. Key has to be the documentation and books you can buy, and putting in the time to read them. If you can't put in the time to actually help try and understand Hadoop, you're never going to be able to understand why it's not behaving as you expect. You're not going to be able to understand how to debug the system as a whole. For that, you need the classic tools of things like network tools. You need to know how to use search engines effectively to get the answers. Be able to generate stat traces, kill minus quit to understand them. And as you start delving into Hadoop, the fact it's open source means you have access to all the entire source code. And you can also build the entire source chain, get doing everything you need to actually download the Hadoop source code, rebuild it, patch it, and submit a patch. That is a lot of stuff there. But a lot of it is foundational. These skills are useful whenever you're doing Java application development. Which is why I'm going to be brutal and say, if some of these things are new to you, in particular the network tools, if you don't know about NSLOOKUP or ping, telnet, that kind of stuff, stop trying to run Hadoop, at least without paid support. Start trying to install Minecraft on a server you care about instead. And this is not me being facetious, it's actually a great way to learn about these problems. I'm working with my son, he's trying to set up a Minecraft server, and he's actually finally learning to use the command line and the loadable tools like ping. He's learning about firewalls, about hostname setup, all the foundational skills that you need for a Hadoop cluster, but in a far smaller scale. So start with Minecraft before going to Hadoop. You'll find things a lot easier to learn, not least because they have better videos. Issues actually end up on Apache JIRA. That's where you file them, that's where you can browse them, and that's where you can actually work to fix things. Developers on Hadoop like myself, we spend a lot of time staring at Apache JIRA, commenting on other people's work, finding our own work. So we become very familiar with it. It won't take long before you can understand how to use it. It's quite simple, but it's also very powerful. You start by having to create a username, an account there. Once you've done that, you can start filing issues and commenting on other people. It's an open source project. You have the right to comment on any other work that other people are doing, including other bugs that have already been filed and closed. So, I'm going to start with the demo first. First, I'm going to show you exactly what you mustn't do. The stuff I was saying, please don't do. Here's a machine. I've installed a copy of Hadoop. I'm just going to run it. The first thing I'll do is find out what version I've got. So I'll type Hadoop version. And it fails. It goes bash Hadoop command not found. Now I could think about what I've done wrong there, which is clearly that I've misspelled stuff. I could grab that error string, tap it into the web browser, and it might give me some clues as what's going wrong, such as it might be I've not got my path set up right, or the installation hasn't gone through in the way I'm expecting. But instead, no, I'm going to actually ask for help instead by filing a JIRA. So I'm logged onto JIRA, I create a new issue. And of course, the title of this issue is going to be help. My Hadoop doesn't work. I have to know which project to file against. There's lots and lots of projects, lots of Apache projects around just the Hadoop world, and it's nice to be filed in the right place. This is a core Hadoop issue, so I'm going to file it in Hadoop Common. Other ones are Hadoop HDFS for the file system, Hadoop Yarn for the Yarn scheduler, MapReduce for MapReduce work. So Hadoop Common it is. Obviously, this is absolutely critical, so I'm going to file it as critical. Which components is it? Is it a command line? There's a list of components here. I'll see which one looks. Oh, it's a bin, probably running on a binary, so I put it in there. Effect versions, I think I'm running Hadoop 1.03, so I put that in there. This is quite an old version of Hadoop, but it's the one I installed. And actually, it's the Big Data Borats version of Hadoop I'm running here. So Big Data Borats Hadoop. Big Data Borats Hadoop. And now I actually fill in the bug. So I basically say, I have installed Hadoop, but it is failing. And I paste in the error. Oops, I reworked it. So I copy it and paste it. Now, there's actually quite a complicated markup that JIRA supports. If you hit the question mark, it'll tell me the syntax. The key one is I type the code. I could add in the code, and it's all correctly formatted as code. In fact, I can even hit preview button to see what it looks like. So it goes there. I've installed Hadoop and it's failing. Please help as this is, I'll say, please help as this is urgent. Please help. Help. 2 exclamation marks so people will really realise it's important. And there it is. I'm going to hit the create button. Help, my Hadoop doesn't work. There it is. I've created a whole new issue in Hadoop. What can I do now? Well, I could sit back and I can expect lots and lots of people to come out and help me. You know, I can hope that the real experts, the developers in Hadoop, are going to come up and say, oh, Steve, here's a obvious problem, they're going to fix it. But in fact, this is what's going to happen. They're going to hit the comment button, and they're going to say, closing is invalid. It's going to be commented. Then, they're going to actually resolve the issue, and it's going to say invalid. Right? It's going to be resolved and invalid. All I've done is waste the time of lots of people. So don't do that. In fact, it's worse than wasting the time of everybody else, because if I now look at this, it's got my name next to it. So everybody knows now that I can't get Hadoop to run. My colleagues at HawthorneWorks, they're all going to be thinking, oh, Steve doesn't know what he's doing. There's no point talking to him about hard problems. My friend Paolo Castagna at Cloudera, he won't want to come to coffee with me next week because he might be seen with me in the cafe and he'd be embarrassed. I'm going over to Mountain View next month and I might be walking along Castro, the main road in Mountain View, and complete strangers will pull up in their car, look out the window and go, hey, you're Steve, you can't get Hadoop to work, and then drive off laughing. The people with Red Hat that I've been working with in certain things, they will probably suggest to me, go, hey, why don't you file a bug report with the bash team? They can close it as invalid there instead. So by publicly filing this JIRA, I am sharing with the world that I am completely out my depth and I don't know how to fix problems. All I can do is ask for help plaintively, and I won't get an answer. I will just be making things worse for myself. So don't do what I've just done. Don't file critical issues. That's a specific metric to say this is absolutely critical for Hadoop. The fact that your server doesn't work doesn't make it critical. If it was Yahoo's cluster, eBay's cluster, that would probably be critical. But because they're working, clear problem on your side. Don't file the same issue more than once when you don't get a reply. Don't file issues against ASF, non-ASF binaries or old versions. Be very careful not to include confidential information. People sometimes do that in the stack traces. If that happens, you can't remove it from the world. It's going to happen in emails. Well, that's JIRAs. Don't file JIRAs, but also don't send emails to developers group asking for help because they will ignore it completely. It will just be ignored. You won't get any help at all. All you'll get known is the crying wolf for asking help when you're out of your depth. And then when you have real problems, when you have real bugs, you're still going to be ignored because people don't believe that you've got a serious problem. So don't do that. What you have to do is file relevant bugs against real problems with enough information people can fix them. So let's do a good bug against a real system. One of the projects I'm working on right now is called Hoya, HBase on Yarn, that will deploy HBase or Apache Accumulo on a Yarn cluster. So I'm going to test it. I'm going to first do a command there. I'm going to see what's running. So I go bin Hoya list. I'm starting my program. It says I'm connecting to Resource Manager at sandbox.hawthorneworks.com. This is a little virtual machine I've downloaded. If you're trying to start with Hadoop, download one of the VMs and start playing with it. Someone's already gone to most of the effort of installing it and getting it working. All you have to do is actually talk to it. And that means the problems that you're going to encounter are more likely network-based than anything else. And this is exactly what's happening here. I'm getting an error message saying I'm retrying connected server sandbox 192.168.134 port 8050 and it's failing. It's retrying. Well, that's clearly some kind of problem. I don't know what it is for now, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to try closing my program. I'm going to try stopping it. And it goes, yes, server's interrupted exiting. That's my code trying to do the exit. But instantly my program hasn't exited. It's still running. And that that's the actual bug I've been finding, is that even when I try to exit a program, the latest version of Hadoop doesn't actually want to go away if I'm trying to connect to a server that isn't there. So that is a bug. Probably a bug. First, I want to stack trace what's going on. There's not enough to provide bits of the log. You really need to say where is the code at the time it didn't work. So JPS gives me the Java processes. JPS minus V. I'm using the same stuff. I do JPS there. Let's kill minus quit 60611. 60611. Kill minus quit causes stack trace to appear on there. While I'm also here, I might as well take a look and see what was actually wrong with the program that's trying to connect to this machine here. Like I said before, you need to understand about things like network addresses, IP addresses, basic commands like ping, and there are messages that come back. So let's try pinging that host. It says host is down. Well, that explains why things aren't working. Whatever that VM is up to, it's not there. It may be coming up on the wrong address. Whatever, there's a network connectivity problem I can deal with. What I'm caring about right now is the fact that even though I tried to kill the process, it still kept running. So I get that stack trace I've created. I'm going to copy it. This is something I can file in the bug report now. Here's something relevant which says, here is all the bits of the threads inside my process that we're running. But before I get that far, I'm going to switch to my development environment, my IDE, and say, hang on a minute, maybe it's in my code. Let's see if I can actually understand a bit better what's going on. So I'm going to analyze the stack trace. This is IntelliJ IDEA. As a special feature, you paste in a stack trace, and it will give you the information about what's going on. It will let you click through the different bits of the code, and it will show you different threads that are running services between them. So this is where the entry point's up there, and it's just waiting, it's spinning while the connections aren't empty. So that's why I'm trying to stop here. It's got that file it's trying to stop. Here's where things are happening, how it got called that way, and that's was okay. There's a shutdown hook manager which gets called when we're trying to shut down the process. So I try to shut down the process. This is all JVM stuff here that's grayed out in system exit. It's triggering callbacks because it's trying to shut down something, and that thing isn't shutting down the IPC. Right at the top of the stack is actually my code. Okay? And so I should always have a look at that and see actually, is that where the bug is? Right at the top, it might be the case you've done the wrong thing. So start at your own code before assuming that it's broken. Anyway, I'm reasonably confident this time that my code is working. Let's see what else is happening. Is the other thread that's been marked as sleeping, and it's IPC code, the inter-process communication over the network, and it's waiting for something to happen. I'm trying to close the channel, trying to close connection name node, but it's not working either. So somehow it's spinning, okay, and we're going to have to file a bug against that. So it looks like what's happening is that while the finalizer is trying to close the threads, because something is actually waiting for its connection until it actually times out and gives up, the shutdown handler won't shut down, so my process won't exit. Let's go and file that bug against that now. While we're here, let's see if my code has actually finished it. Eventually it gave up. So it hasn't frozen forever, it got up to 50 times. So eventually the timeout logic kicked in, but it took a lot longer than I expected. So I will now go and file a better issue, JIRA, a good one. One that could be used by somebody to actually fix. So Hadoop common, it's a bug. Is it major? No, it's minor actually. It only happens at shutdown time. I am going to paste in that stack trace, but I'm not going to paste it in quite yet because I want to put a description of things in first, and I don't want a big long stack trace of description as it goes around too many emails. So now Here is a more useful bug. IPC shutdown hangs if remote connection not reachable. Sending the process communication, IPC corner. I'm running Hadoop 2.2.0, latest shipping version, under HTTP, so it's nice and current. I don't know what version to be fixed. I'm not going to do any work on it myself just yet. Environment is OSX, Java 7. Okay, standard bits of code. And now I'm filing the JIRA. If the remote HFS name node isn't reachable and an attempt to shut down the JVM is made, the process will keep running. Nice and simple error message. That's a nice summary for people. Created an issue there. Now I can go back and get that stack trace, copy it in again. Copy. Again, I use the code symbol. Paste in the stack. Right. Wait for it to happen a bit. Now I've created the real issue. Okay, there's a nice stack trace in there, there's information there. It's the stuff that somebody that knows Hadoop can actually start debugging. And that is your real goal. The real bug, you've got to provide enough information for people to fix. You've also got to show you've done your homework before you can file that bug to show that it's probably something realistic rather than you've just got stuck with a problem and you don't understand Hadoop very well. So that was a good job. There's a special case of filing which is security problems. You email security bugs to security@hadoop.apache.org. They get handled specially. No public JIRA is made until the bug has been fixed. The bug will be slipped out discreetly, or the patch will be slipped out discreetly before the announcement. Again, problems you have getting security to work, problems you have getting Kerberos to work, they are not security bugs. They are problems which you either have to ask for help with the user groups, through your vendors, whatever. It's purely for security holes. Now, what happens once that issue has been found? Well, it doesn't actually get closed invalid or filed a different project. Then someone who cares about it is going to fix it when they have the time. Even though there's a lot of us full-time Hadoop developers, we're really busy. So we're unlikely to get to it unless it's viewed as critical, either because it's a customer, because it's a threat particularly to data across all users, because it's quite a fundamental problem. If it's something minor, we're probably not going to have time to get around to it for a while. The one person who does care about the most is probably you. You're the one with the problem in front of you. You're also the problem who can replicate it. I'm the one with the machine that's not responding to the connection, so I'm the one that can verify that my patch actually is going to work if I fix it. So, the person finding the bug is in the best place to fix it, both technically and because they care about it. That's the prize of open source. You've got the freedom to get the source. You've got the freedom to download and build everything yourself. You've got the right to make those patches. But if you want to get things done on a timetable you want, unless you're actually paying somebody else to do it, and that's not just Hadoop, it's things like Linux as well, you're going to have to fend for yourself. Even if it goes through the actual Apache Hadoop team and somebody else fixes it, it's still going to wait a while to come up and get onto your code base, get onto your machines when the next version of Hadoop ships. So think of a workaround. You're going to have to come up with a solution that avoids this problem. For me, that code there, my workaround was to say if somebody presses Control-C another time, escalate it and don't call Java system.exit call. Coming up with those workarounds is actually another skill that a service the vendors can offer. We've got experience running big Hadoop clusters. We know about those problems. We know about how to avoid them, and when they encounter, what to do when you encounter them. So that's a kind of skill that's useful to have. As you use Hadoop more, you'll pick it up yourself as well. To summarize then, JIRA is for reporting bugs in the ASF code, not just the fact that your system doesn't work. If you do have a problem, search for it online first. Search for it in JIRA. Ask for the user group to help. If you're using a commercial product, go through their support channels because they will be able to help you. Finally, if it's still there, if you really think it's a bug, go to the most recent release, see if it's still there, then file a JIRA that's informative and relevant and useful. Then you're going to have to do one of either wait for a fix or fix it yourself. Either way, a workaround's a timely solution. Now you might think I'm being bleak here saying you're going to have to fend it yourself in this world, but getting in there, getting in with those patches, it does help you build up the skills to actually do Hadoop coding, to provide new fixes and new features to Hadoop, and you're very welcome to do. Okay? You're very welcome to get those developer lists once you're actually coding the bits of Hadoop and supplying patches. We'd love to have you providing your code with your tests, which is why another video I'm planning to do soon is how to actually fix a bug. Until then, hopefully this will give you a quick introduction about how to file bugs and when not to.